Shawn right here at the home gym of the Incredible Hulk, Lou Ferrigno. Lou Ferrigno is part of the fabric of what is bodybuilding. I remember just being a kid back in the 70s coming up, and my first introduction, obviously, to you, Lou, was not the Incredible Hulk. Surprisingly, it was pumping iron. But your introduction to the bodybuilding scene started back when you were a teenager out in Brooklyn. And why don't you tell everybody about how you started out becoming a bodybuilder before we got to the Incredible Hulk and the Apprentice and all the other wonderful things you got involved with?
Well, when I was a kid, I had to overcome adversity. I had the speech and hearing issue. I used to read a lot of comic books. I was like a real-life Walter Mitty. And I remember I used to trade comic book. I'll never forget, I went to the comic book store one time and I saw a guy in the cover that said, Dave Draper, Mr. Universe, with chest pose. And I said, oh my God, this is Mr. Universe. I just watched Mr. Universe, and I realized I'm looking at all these muscles. I took the magazine, I studied from page to page. It was all about power. That saved my life, like my path to survive. But then I discovered the beauty about bodybuilding because it gave you that sense of well-being. Just like working out, you compete with yourself. So basically, that was my path.
So how old were you when you first started working out, and who were you working out with to figure out what you wanted to do?
When I first started to work out, would you believe, Shawn, that I couldn't afford weights? I got pails, I filled it with cement, and I took a broomstick, I put it in the middle so the cement hardened. I made my own makeshift barbell. I remember a friend of mine down the street, they had weights, and I used to watch them work out, and then I used to say to myself, why not join them? I tried to compete with them. I was kind of like a lonely kid because I was bullied. So in my basement, I had these makeshift weights. But I took experiment. I used to look at the magazine, I used to look at all the champions back there, like Draper, like Sergio Oliva, and try to duplicate the exercises. Little did I realize that, I said the way they looked, I said like a 22, 21-inch arm, my arm was like 14 back then, but it was like an obsession.
So this is in the 60s. Tell me about the first contest that you experienced. What did that contest do to change the direction for the rest of your life as a bodybuilder?
That's a great question because the first year, I went to see the competition. It was 1966 Mr. Olympia competition. I was going to Brooklyn Tech High School, and I bought a ticket. I had front row in the balcony. I'll never forget, I went that evening to watch the competition. Of course, Larry Scott won, and Sergio came second. But when I saw that competition, I realized that there's a place for me to be. And I watched these guys compete on stage. It's like, they're like warriors. They're incredible. Because back then, Ben Weider came out and said, bodybuilding eventually someday could be in the Olympics. I got a chance to see Ben and Joe. All this came to life. And I realized that this is what I want.
So what came first? Ben and Joe contacting you, or you coming to California? And how did that transition from Brooklyn to LA happen?
Well, I attended the 1972, it was the Miss America competition at the Academy of Music. And you know, Arnold Lane and Mike Katz was there. And then I see Joe in the background walking towards me, he had a smile. I go, hello, my name is Joe Weider. I really wanted to come to California. He said, you could be another superstar. So he goes, we got Frank Dane, we got Franco, and we have Arnold. You could be a fourth superstar. And I was so ecstatic, excited, because I said to myself, this is my chance to go to California. Because backstage with Joe, it was almost like a movie coming to life. And it's like, wow, I want to be part of it. It was like home.
So you weren't afraid of coming to California, someplace you obviously had never been up in that time. So what were you thinking about doing when you got to California? Was it just about going to the gym, eat, sleep, and train? Or were there things that you had in mind outside of the gym?
Well, it was funny, when I first came to California, I was invited by Arnold. I competed in the 1974 Mr. International.
By then you were already big, yeah?
Yes, I was already Mr. Universe. And I wasn't in my best shape, but I remember they had the contest downtown at the Embassy Auditorium. And I remember I spent the day with Arnold, watching him drive around, preparing for the contest, getting flyers, because him and Franco promoted the competition. And I had a chance to see Serge Nubret. And Serge said to me, he's clever. He's clever. So I'm watching all these guys, I'm learning about the camaraderie and the personality to being part of it. So when I competed in the contest, I said to myself, this is what I want to stay when I want to be, because it's just my home. Like Joe took me to the beach,
right,
and he said, breathe the air, look at this, look at the ocean. He said, this is what you have to be, a bodybuilder living here. And everything changed from that point on.
And so it was only one short year later that the call for the Pumping Iron movie came. How did that transpire?
Well, I was training for the ABC Superstar competition, and then I received a phone call. George Butler and Charles Gaines were making the film. And we were doing the film in South Africa. And I said to myself, I mean, I got 9 to 10 weeks to get ready. But I said to myself, I need to be part of this, because it's the first time it could be a feature documentary. Like, today we call it docudrama. So I remember that when that film came out, it changed everything because people didn't understand what the sport of bodybuilding was. Like women never worked out in the gym, only a guy thing.
Right.
And that all changed because the pumping iron came out. It got me involved doing Incredible Hulk, but it gave some incredible notoriety to all the respect for the bodybuilders.
Well, with all due respect, did you think you were going to beat Arnold Schwarzenegger in South Africa?
That's a great question. I was hoping to be my best, but I knew that he had the edge on me because he lived in California, trained all year round. I'm working as a sheet metal worker. And then I'm training maybe 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. I trained by myself in the gym. I didn't have any the opportunity to be here, see the other guys work out, and then you kind of check yourself with the other people. I was more like a sole competitor. So I was in for a little shock because when I got to South Africa, I was so excited to be competing with the guys, even though it wasn't on my bed. But I just said to myself, I have to go to California because the only thing that really bothered me, it was the last time Arnold competed because I didn't want to compete after that because people always say to me, well, you're Mr. Olympia, but Arnold wasn't here.